China's latest cybercrime hacking 6 states in the United States. Cyber attacks are getting more sophisticated. This as more disinformation campaigns are floating online to promote Beijing's line. The Chinese government doubling down on hybrid warfare. We'll explain how it works. Then I have cybersecurity expert Rex Lee back on the show. He goes into details on tech hybrid warfare and why social media is a tool used by the Chinese Communist Party to invade America. Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Chinese hackers are once again attacking the United States, this time in at least 6 states. They're stealing sensitive data and propagandizing the world with disinformation. The group responsible is called Apt41. It's a Chinese state-sponsored hacking group, and this isn't their first attack. According to cyber research giant Mandiant, the group has done large-scale hacks based on their alignment with the Chinese government's 5-year economic plan. The 5-year plan is the segmented goals the Chinese Communist Party sees to complete within the 5 years. And the goal is clear, yet the means to achieve those goals are not. It means that they target key organizations in the healthcare, high-tech, and telecommunications sectors. Apt41 operations against higher education, travel services, and news and media firms also provide some indication that the group also tracks individuals and conducts surveillance. The regime most recently hit at the heart of America, in part by using an obscure livestock app called USA Herds. Are they especially interested in cow farms or perhaps chicken eggs? We don't know which states were breached. Mandiant didn't say. But silence isn't really assuring for the people that things are okay. However, what we do know is that the hackers left digital fingerprints that have Apt41 written all over them. And that's how the U.S. Justice Department indicted 5 of its members in 2020. Apt41 hacks for the Chinese Communist Party, but also for criminal profit across the world. The CCP hackers conduct cyber espionage and cybercrime, including ransomware and the theft of virtual currency. They also go beyond normal methods to insert their code surreptitiously into automatic updates to software that you may already have on your computer. And this is what some are calling tech hybrid warfare through applications. Now, I'm speaking to Rex Lee on this later during the show. But for now, let's learn a little bit more about Apt41. Mandiant analyst Rufus Brown told Wired magazine, quote, Apt41 is going after any external-facing web application that can give them access to a network. Just very persistent, very continuous targeting. While most of the world focuses on the cyber threat from Russia, given the Ukraine invasion and recent warnings from the government about an increased Russian hacking threat, the latest Apt41 hack should remind us that the long-term goal emanates from Beijing. Now, the CCP buys its way into computers as well. For example, most recently by purchasing 21 Facebook ads in Azerbaijan, Hong Kong, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and likely many other countries. And these ads repeat Russian propaganda about the Ukrainian war, including anti-NATO messaging. Another CCP campaign, as we have covered, lies about quote-unquote dangerous U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. And this propaganda could be part of a false flag operation to blame the United States for any future use by Russia of chemical or biological weapons. And the Chinese regime's global hacking and propaganda campaigns make clear that its organizations are criminal actors coordinating with other rogue states against democracy. So what exactly is the CCP doing? Well, they're simply exercising the rules of unrestricted warfare. And unrestricted warfare is a term coined by 2 Chinese generals in the 90s. Inside the limitless warfare tactics, the goal is to destroy the United States. There's political warfare, there's psychological warfare, there's legal warfare, and information warfare. And hybrid warfare combines the unconventional to that of the conventional. And it is a total war against the target. And in technology, they're called end users. Those are the victims. The issue with tech-based warfare is that there is unpreparedness. For example, domains like cybersecurity are not regulated to the extent like regular laws, and there's no regulations for a physical setting. China has precisely used this loophole to advance its cyber warfare. Joining me now is cybersecurity expert Rex M. Lee. We discussed many issues regarding the idea of a tech hybrid warfare and why China is also using social media as a tool to advance its invasion in the cyber domain onto Americans and especially younger audience. Rex M. Lee, thank you so much for joining me again here on China Insider.
David, thank you for having me on.
So before we get into all of the details, can you explain to us first what this tech-driven hybrid warfare is?
Yes, tech-based hybrid warfare is very similar to hybrid warfare, but it's centered on technology. And what we're seeing today regarding hybrid warfare is the fact that everybody is a target, including with tech-based hybrid warfare. Everybody's a target. Whether it's a teen, child, business professional, government official, elected official, business leader, even members of the military and law enforcement, everybody's a target. And what's key to note here is the fact that these nation state hackers are weaponizing endpoints to use against the end user as well as the end user's employers.
What exactly does hybrid warfare seeks to accomplish, and how does the end user end up being affected by that hybrid warfare?
Well, today, everybody's connected. So regarding hybrid warfare, nation-state hacking groups from China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, these groups include like Sandworm and Fancy Bear from Russia, Lazarus from North Korea, and App41 from China. They're utilizing intrusive apps and platforms and exposing vulnerabilities in operating systems such as the Android OS, Apple iOS, and Microsoft Windows 8, 10, and 11 OS to be able to hack networks as well as collect important information or highly confidential information such as intellectual property or classified information or highly confidential personal and business relationship from end users of technology. So in hybrid warfare, it's unconventional warfare that's not really fought by means of using military equipment, but infiltrating different organizations, whether it's banking, infiltrating social media platforms to cause disruption with elections and spread mis and disinformation. We're seeing all of this play out today, and hybrid warfare, again, targets individuals as well as business professionals, government officials, and so forth. Today, people can be reached through their connected products, and connected products can then be weaponized by these nation-state hackers to launch attacks on networks. And again, that's a 10,000-foot view of hybrid warfare, but more importantly, hybrid warfare associated with technology.
So about 6 days ago, there was a news report that China's App41 launched, or might have been before that, but launched an attack against the six-state government here in the United States. What's your take on this situation?
These hackers or these nation-state hacking groups are not utilizing traditional telecom infrastructure to come into a network and hack that network, or using what we've seen in the past, email phishing campaigns to be able to get into somebody's network. If an employee clicks on a link within an email, they can launch an attack in the network. They've gotten much more sophisticated, so they're starting to utilize vulnerabilities in the Android OS. Similar to App41's attack, Lazarus also launched attacks out of North Korea utilizing the Windows OS and a vulnerability in the operating system, meaning that a company could buy one of these computers, and through their supply chain, these attacks usually are insider attacks. Through the supply chain or the prep of that device, these Trojan horses can be loaded into the operating system of a new laptop. So that laptop comes into an organization similar to SolarWinds, and somebody activates that laptop in their organization on their network. Even with all their security protocols, these malware can then sit there dormant. They can hit immediately, or they can sit there for a year, very similar to SolarWinds. so that people don't know that they're in there. And then through one coordinated attack, once they've been able to infiltrate multiple networks, they can actually do a coordinated attack on tens of thousands of businesses, governments, and so forth. This is also happening with apps that support your smartphone. And these apps can be inadvertently downloaded through Google Play, the Apple App Store, or Microsoft App Store. And the apps can also launch like distributed denial of service attacks, ransomware attacks, or man-in-the-middle attacks on networks, including critical infrastructure, going after industrial control systems, for example, of a power plant or a nuclear power plant or an oil refinery, which we saw in 2019 in Saudi Arabia, where they came in through the Windows OS and they launched an attack on industrial control systems in a Saudi oil refinery, trying to manipulate controls in that oil refinery to cause an explosion. This can happen in a nuclear power plant or anywhere within critical infrastructure.
How vulnerable are we to an attack from China's Ministry of State Security or from Russia's hacker groups?
Oh, vulnerable. We've already been hacked. Look at Colonial, look at SolarWinds. These hacks are happening every day. Sometimes we see them in the news. Sometimes we don't see them in the news. It's a scary thing. I was just at CERA Week 2022 in Houston, Texas, which was the energy conference, and I got to cover that as a freelance technology journalist. And I was speaking to a representative from Amazon, and we were talking a little bit about these attacks. But what also is vulnerable to today, aside from just attacking networks through apps, operating systems, or traditional hacking methods, is the fact that many companies and governments are uploading their data to the cloud through services like Amazon AWS or Microsoft's Azure. And, I asked the guy from Amazon, I said, what if your network is being targeted by hackers? How many businesses would that affect? How many government agencies would that affect? It'd be tens of thousands of them. But he said their networks were secure. And I said, well, what if somebody goes in there and blows up one of your server farms? You talk about affecting the supply chain. They don't need to go in to always hack a network. An insider could go into one of those data centers. And if you took out AWS data center or an Azure or Microsoft Azure data center, you're talking about affecting tens of thousands of businesses. That would literally shut those businesses down. This is one of the problems when we become so reliant on the cloud to store everything for us, but there are also central data points at which could either be attacked through hacking methods or physically attacking them. This happened to that Saudi oil refinery a year later when the hackers couldn't get in through the Windows operating system. They caught it at the 11th hour. That same Saudi oil refinery was then attacked by drones a year later. So they went old school and just said, we'll just blow it up. And that's the same thing that could happen to these data centers or within critical infrastructure as well.
Explain to us about this concept, why social media is another risk in tech hybrid warfare.
Well, there's two issues with social media platforms. I'm going to discuss the first issue. The first issue is the fact that there are millions of accounts out there that are set up by operatives from governments and other bad actors. So China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, anywhere around the world, you can have a boiler room of people on computers who set up tens of thousands of social media accounts, acting as if they're everyday people. And then these operatives, what their goal is to go in and disrupt elections. Their goal is to spread mis and disinformation regarding propaganda. We're seeing that today with social media influencers or so-called social media influencers around the world who are going in and influencing or spinning information about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So this becomes highly concerning, especially considering the fact that Joe Biden, I think on Thursday or Friday last week, had a TikTok conference with TikTok influencers who are then utilizing TikTok, which is developed by ByteDance, a Chinese company, where these influencers can utilize that event for propaganda, as well as adversaries or operatives from other countries that can capture that event and then spin it, use snippets from it, and then put misinformation and disinformation out there about the United States to people all over the world to use for propaganda purposes. That's the first issue that we see with these apps and platforms. The second is the fact that TikTok, like Facebook, like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, it doesn't matter what social media platform it is. The companies that develop these platforms are in the information trafficking business, meaning that Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is in the information trafficking business. Google's in the information trafficking business. ByteDance from China is in the information trafficking business, as well as Tencent, the developers of WeChat, and so on. And what these companies do is they build surveillance and data mining platforms that utilize social media as a vehicle to monitor, track, and data mine the end user for financial gain, meaning that the platform first is developed to be a surveillance and data mining platform that is then utilizing an application like social media, which they can put out there, meaning that their business model is to collect as much information from the end user. The biggest problem with that is the amount of surveillance and data mining that these platforms are able to conduct on the end user. And I'll give you an example. A single intrusive app or social media platform enables the developer to collect over 5,000 highly confidential data points associated with the end user's personal, business, employment, medical, and legal information, just about everything you utilize your device for. It also enables the developer to take full control over the sensors on the device, the accelerometer, near-field communication, and so forth. So that, and the mic and camera, that enables the developer to conduct audio, video, and physical surveillance on the end user 24/7, 365 days a year, even when the end users aren't even utilizing the platforms. The surveillance and data mining doesn't come into play when you're logged into their platforms. It comes through the app, and it's 24/7, 365 days a year, enabling the developer to indiscriminately collect your personal and business-related information off the device. It doesn't look for just consumer information or information that's related to your use of their platform. It's collecting everything: text messages, calendar events, email attachments, all sorts of information, all the accounts you set up on there, whether it's medical or banking accounts, all of that information, anything you do with your phone and or tablet PC or PC that the app resides on, it collects.
How does China use this as part of the tech hybrid warfare?
Well, think of it. Let's say I work for a defense contractor and I'm on TikTok in my personal time, but the defense contractor has a BYOD program. And I go to work and I bring that device to work and I bring that device into a meeting. Well, they can record anything in that meeting. Let's say I work for General Dynamics. I may even have a device that General Dynamics gives me to utilize. I may not have these apps on there, but I also have my personal device on me and on my person. You bring in a microphone or a camera that is recording everything in that meeting. Plus, sometimes even people with proprietary devices sometimes do business inadvertently on their personal device. You're giving all that information, whether it's a text message, an email, a calendar event, and so forth. Some companies have BYOD programs, and they're exposing all sorts of data, even though they have mobile device management security platforms that can catch some of these intrusive apps that are downloaded, but they don't block the apps that were pre-installed on the device. And I'll give you an example. Baidu is a pre-installed app developer for Google, and they have pre-installed surveillance and data mining technology in the operating system. I bought a phone from a T-Mobile in Selma, Texas, and pulled these permissions up given to Baidu. And even though I was doing work for a defense contractor, even if they were monitoring that through their MDM platform, it would have never picked up what was pre-installed into that device, giving information to Baidu, who is an Android app developer and a Google partner.
Just to clarify, Baidu is which country is it from, and what
China.
does it do?
Baidu is the Google of China, and they're one of the leaders in AI, and they get a lot of their information by monitoring, tracking, and data mining cell phone users through their agreements with Google, and their ability to download those apps. So let me explain to you one of the biggest problems. The problem is the fact that the access is given to you from Google, the Android OS developer, Apple iOS, or Apple gives access to their iOS users, and Microsoft gives access to Windows OS end users. That's where it starts first. So it's Google, Apple, and Microsoft who make the decisions of what apps are pre-installed with their technology, with their operating systems, and what apps are distributed through their app stores. So in essence, Google, Apple, and Microsoft are actively distributing Chinese and Russian surveillance and data mining technology in the form of intrusive, addictive, and manipulative apps and platforms, such as TikTok. When you buy a computer supported by Microsoft 11 today, ByteDance has cut a deal with Microsoft to have the TikTok app pre-installed into that computer or tablet, PC, or any device that's supported by the Windows 11 OS. Even if I have an existing Windows device and I have Windows 10 and I upgrade to Windows OS, suddenly that TikTok app is pushed out to my computer, whether I want it or not, through a partnership with Microsoft. These are the things that Google, Apple, and Microsoft have to take in consideration. Countries such as India have banned these apps, and other countries are banning these apps all over the world except for the United States. The United States is not banning these intrusive Russian or Chinese apps. Even in light of Russia invading the Ukraine, you can still download Prisma Labs photo editing app, which is one of the most popular apps in the world. You can still download that from Google Play, as well as they're not banning intrusive apps from China. Even though China is threatening Taiwan, you can still get TikTok here and so forth, whereas everywhere else around the world, many other countries are banning these apps, such as India, and India is leading the way on this.
Well, Rex, thank you so much for joining me today for this discussion.
Thank you, David.